Hello and welcome to the Recovery Matters podcast from CCAR, the podcast where putting recovery first is always the goal. Here we present interviews, discussions, stories, and speeches to cultivate the understanding and acceptance of the power, hope, and healing of recovery from alcohol and other addictions. Here are your hosts, Phil and Sandy Valentine.
Phil, I want to talk about the joys of parenting for a minute.
The joys of parenting?
Yes, one of the joys is having children.
That would be a parent, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
See what I did there? A parent.
But one of the things that seemingly most of our children have not learned by my example is that you don't toss garbage on the floor of your room. Like you just don't do that.
How about dirty clothes?
Well, okay, that's a whole other day. I want to talk about the garbage. Like, you don't take a tag off a brand new shirt and just chuck it on the floor.
That's not really garbage.
That's garbage.
It's more like trash.
Okay, it's
because
trash.
Garbage I associate with, like, food things,
so
food
it still
products.
belongs in a container.
Okay, maybe.
So this has been a frustration of my whole parenting years. But fortunately...
Fortunately what?
As we've visited our adult children, once they have their own home, they seemingly put the garbage in the trash.
Right.
So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, so your lessons have been learned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started learning about the Ocean Recovery Community Alliance, and you started inviting me to go to beach cleanups where we would clean up people's trash, I was like, are you kidding me? I've been cleaning up trash for over 20 years now.
Decades.
In our own house. I really don't need to go clean up other people's trash.
Mm-hmm.
But because of COVID, I got bored, thought I should check it out, and a new passion was born, enabled by the bagger and the grabber. So I'm really excited that we brought the program coordinator of ORCA back to talk about what's been happening over the last year.
Hello, Phil and Sandy.
Hi,
just a note, I was one of those kids that would leave cups in my room. So it's kind of...
On the floor?
Everywhere.
Okay.
So...
What kind of cups?
Just drinking glasses.
Glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's not a cup.
No.
I would say a cup is made out of paper or plastic.
Okay.
A glass is made out of glass. A mug is made out of ceramic.
You really go down the wrong trails all the time.
That's my nature. But I
like
do
that.
follow trails a lot.
I do have to go in their rooms and do a gathering periodically when the cabinets are empty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, where did they disappear to?
Oh, the water bottles.
The water bottles.
Oh, my gosh. We have so many water bottles, and then you look in our refrigerator. At one time, there's like 20, and 2 days later, there are none.
Reusable water bottles?
Of
Yes,
course.
Okay.
Because of my ORCA,
I just had to check.
I
Yeah,
used to
not
buy
single use.
cases of bottled water and keep them in our garage fridge.
Yeah.
But because of the influence of ORCA, I now have about 24 reusable bottles, and I wash them and refill them, and they're nice and cold when somebody wants to grab them until they disappear in their bedrooms, and
Yeah. Then you
I
gotta
have
go
to
back
do a
again.
gathering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something about me and water?
You don't like it?
No, I like water.
Oh, you do?
I prefer, like, cool water. I don't prefer ice cold water.
Then you do not need to
Or
take
room
any out of the
temperature
fridge.
water. Exactly.
Okay.
So I don't. And I can also drink water straight from the tap. A lot of people can't even do that. They need it to be filtered and all this other stuff. But
I'm guilty of that.
Are
I like
you?
to, I like to filter it.
Mhm.
Just because I don't know how old my house is or my apartment is and the pipes there. So
why don't you do a test? Then you might find out.
I
You have to
rather
filter
just
it.
play it safe.
Okay. So what we're talking about are environmental friendly practices, right?
Yes.
Nice way to wrap it up.
Well,
Yeah.
single-use plastics,
Yeah.
no. Since we've embarked on this adventure, ORCA adventure, Ocean Recovery Community Alliance, it's been, what, a year now?
July 25th will be a year from our first cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
So we're approaching that in a couple of weeks. And a lot has happened in the last year. And you guys kind of have a front row seat in all of that. So It's
Yeah.
been pretty exciting.
Oh, now I remember. The whole reason I went the first time was because I wanted to paddle on the Mystic River.
Yes.
So there was an enticement there to
Yes.
do a little kayaking.
Yep, there was at Adventure Mystic, lended out free kayaks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 2 actually coming up this month that will be out on the water in Old Saybrook and in Wickford, Rhode Island. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A good spin on instead of, of course people can do it, walk around and pick up stuff if they're afraid to get in, any vessel. But we're trying to make it interesting and creative.
There is a recommendation from me, though, to all the people that do that. Do not partner with anybody who's going to disappear on you. So if you have one part
In different
the
kayaks,
bagger
you
or
mean?
yes.
Okay.
Because
You could be stuck with that person in a double, too, in a double kayak.
That's true. But I had the bagger, he had the grabber, and he ditched me as we crossed the river. He just disappeared. And I was seeing all these things I couldn't get because I didn't have my own grabber.
She says disappeared. You couldn't keep up with me. And who came back with the most poundage? This guy. Of course it was
Didn't you find like a lead
pipe.
pipe or something?
Yeah, a big pipe. So that's why I came up with the most poundage.
You didn't need the grabber for that.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Well, next you learn to take your own grabber.
So should I say like a disclaimer that at every cleanup you guys attend together that there's a friendly competition that goes on?
Is it friendly?
I would like to say friendly.
We leave together.
You do,
Yeah.
yes. I haven't had to give any of you guys rides back.
Mhm.
But, yeah. And sometimes, what's the weirdest thing you've found, Sandy?
Well, the bent stop sign that was embedded in a muddy bank of a creek.
Okay.
But the big deal, my claim to fame, was the bicycle next to the train tracks in Niantic.
Okay.
Because there was vines wrapped around that bicycle.
So it's been there. It was there for
and I was going to get that bicycle no matter what.
Yeah.
But I did have to call our friend Tom to come pick me up because I couldn't carry the bike all the way back to the table.
And what
to
about
weigh
you,
in.
Phil?
I don't have that good a memory. I just remember consistently pulling pounds and pounds of trash and just, just filling bags full and she would go, "How did you find all that trash?" She'd be really upset too.
And I think you have some wounds as well. From that.
I have, well, I don't know if this will promote it, but I'm one of those guys to get into the weeds, and I've had poison ivy and cuts and
Ticks.
ticks and smashed fingers and all that kind of stuff. There was one time we were in Rhode Island. I went and visited my dad, and ticks were jumping off of me. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Do you know what a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common?
Oh, no.
They're both parasites.
Oh, gosh.
Good one.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
that's the first dad joke on the podcast.
Well,
Is it?
It's good.
So anyway, talk to us a little bit about your journey with ORCA, how you heard about it, what you checked out. So what was the beginning like for you?
The beginning was kind of going off my experience volunteering with other organizations. When I moved to Rhode Island, I would get involved in cleanups that were going on locally, and some of my surfing friends would be like, "Hey, come on, meet us here," and I would, and I liked it, and I would start going to the meetings and stuff that they would have, and they would plan out these cleanups. So when someone sent me the ad on CCAR's website, and I just like, wow, this is definitely for me, because it aligns with my lifestyle and my recovery and my spirituality, and so I did it. And you guys hired me during the height of the pandemic, which I didn't think that.
All Zoom interviews,
Yeah,
right?
all Zoom and FaceTime interviews. And,
Yeah.
We crossed paths once at someone's birthday party, and
Mhm.
I didn't really know each other, but I just kind of knew who you guys were before that, the interview. But yeah, we did that, and then I kind of did that Mystic River one was the first one, and then from there we went to Bridgeport, and since then
Let's backpedal a little bit.
Okay.
Because I want to hear about it fit my lifestyle.
Yes.
And what is your lifestyle? How would you describe that?
My lifestyle consists of being in the water, in the ocean, almost every day. And if I'm not in the ocean, I'm out paddleboarding.
So what are you doing in the ocean every day?
I'm paddling around a 9-foot, 10-foot surfboard with friends or by myself.
So I think what I'm
if
trying to
there's
get
waves.
You're a surfer.
Yes.
Okay.
I like to surf waves.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes when you say people are surfers, their minds automatically go to California, smoking a doobie on the beach.
Spicoli?
Yes, Spicoli.
Do you know
or
Spicoli is?
Keanu Reeves from like Point Break.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
that was a great movie.
Not surfing waves like that in Rhode Island.
What was his name? Odie? No, Bodie.
Bodie. Yeah.
Bodie.
Yep.
Yep. Went to Australia at the end.
Yes. Took right off.
Yep.
So, yeah.
He's not coming back. Sorry.
So yeah, a lot of my time is spent at the beach, and if there's a little wave out there, I'll go surf. Usually I wake up in the morning and I'll have a group text with some of my friends, and they're like, hey, like over here looks like the wave's pretty good, or let's meet there at whatever time. And it's 6:30 in the morning. We're out there and go out there for maybe an hour and a half, come back, do a little work, and then hopefully get out at night too.
How do you describe the surfer community in Rhode Island? And what you've experienced?
It's been, so in surfing, sometimes there's a lot of localism, like people who've surfed there for 20, 25 years. They don't like new people just showing up. And, I've only been there for 3 years, but sometimes it kind of gets under my skin, even though I didn't really grow up in Rhode Island. Because you have new people that come out, and there's like a place where people go to learn how to surf, and there's places that people who are beginners really shouldn't go surfing because it can be dangerous, like rocky point breaks and all that. But it's been very welcoming. That's how I landed in Rhode Island, is just going out in the water and talking to people and making friendships through that.
Well, you can't really find a place to live, so how did you find the place where you live?
Just talking to people, networking.
In the water?
In the water, yeah.
So you're sitting on your surfboard and you say, I'd love to live here someday?
Well, that's what I kind of manifested. Like, hey, I really like coming down here. I don't want to drive from Torrington, Connecticut, which is like 2 hours and 20 minutes. I put a lot of miles on my car the first 2 years surfing. So I'm like, you know what? It'd be nice if I could live here, within, say, 5 years, and it happened within not even 6 months. And that was just through talking to people, kind of, like, hey, kind of new, where are you from type thing. And
how'd you support yourself at the time?
What do you mean?
Well, you had to pay your surfing bills, right, and eat and all that kind of stuff. So what were you doing for a living?
I was working as kind of, where was I? I think I was working in an adolescent treatment center in Connecticut and doing some recovery coaching too. So I was doing that. I was getting out of work at 3 o'clock, driving to Rhode Island, making it down there for 5 o'clock when you can get on the beach for free, and then surfing until I couldn't move my arms or it got too dark, and then grabbing like 5 guys and driving back, getting home at midnight, and then waking up at 6 and going to work for 7 because I worked first shift. And then I would maybe do that twice a week, depending if there was, a tropical storm or waves in the forecast. But yeah, I mean, over the years, like I've met, people who were the local guys or girls who like wouldn't, say hello or whatever. And then like slowly, like they see you out there, they see that you're trying and getting better, and, you kind of earn that respect in a way. It's like if I'm paddling for a wave and they're paddling for a wave, you just let them have it.
Yeah.
And then they'll...
I love that whole concept of even how you found a place to live was the community on the water. Like, I mean, I'm sure you came into land and you still talk to each other, but still just that it looks to the folks on the beach that everybody's out there separate, but you're really building community even out there.
And the thing is, too, like now with the ORCA events, all those people who I made friends with are coming to the ORCA events and, helping out and volunteering that way, which is pretty special in itself because it's like those are the people who really care about their, like I like to call their playground, the ocean.
I have never asked you this before, but what was your best day surfing?
To this point?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I could tell you about some bad days.
No, but I want to hear like what a perfect, beautiful day is of surfing for you.
So it's my favorite spot, which is a very long left-handed break wave. So a wave that breaks so you can go left on it. And it was like glass. It's probably 3 to 4 feet on wave height, and just out there with friends and kind of, just riding the energy of the wave.
How long is that wave ride when it's that long a break?
Could be anywhere from 20 to 45 seconds.
Wow.
So it's a while. If everything lines up just right, because there's a nerdy science behind surfing too. It's kind of like almost like a weatherman-esque type thing. If everything lines up just right, then yeah, like with the right tide, with the right swell direction, then it can be really good. But recently I had one where I was trying this new board that a friend let me borrow, and the waves were pretty big and it was a shorter board, and I like connected with that board instantly, and the feeling was just, it was amazing. Like it was just,
you connected with a board?
I connected with a board.
Is that like Harry Potter and a wand or something like that?
Pretty much. And it was just like kind of a style of surfing that I kind of went out of my comfort zone to try it, because the board is I usually ride a 9 to 10 foot range, and this board was like 7-8. So it paddles differently, it can move differently on the wave, and the waves were big enough, and it was just, yeah, it's really hard to describe.
What's the biggest wave you ever rode?
It was when I first started surfing. I paddled out the second beach in Newport, and I had it was one of those days where I got out of work and drove down, and we had a hurricane out to sea in like June.
I know, they love hurricanes. Surfers love hurricanes
because it produces all of this energy. And I drove down there. I met a friend, a local there, and it was right before it was getting dark. Like just barely made it. I'm like, all right, I got to get one. At Second Beach, there's a rip current that takes you out on the right-hand side, so I got it on the rip, so I got out pretty easily, and paddled back over to where everything was breaking. I'm sitting there, and like I miss a couple, and I'm like, oh man, like it's getting dark. Like I should go in, and then all of a sudden this one comes up out of nowhere, and I could have swore it was probably like 10 feet. It probably wasn't, because I was such a newbie where everything kind of looked big, but I caught it and I just rode it probably for 15 seconds all the way down past the big rock there at Second Beach. And I just kept going, and then it just broke out in front of me, and I just turned towards the beach, and I just rode it all the way into the the whitewater, and took my leash up, got it up, I'm like, all right, let's go get something to eat. Just one wave, and that's it. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
But it was scary.
Tie your surfing into your recovery, and how those two are connected.
Kind of, well, in my recovery, when I first started surfing, I was not really lost, but kind of just looking for something new. It was pretty like stale, I guess, kind of stagnant, and I was trying all these outdoor activities, and picked up river surfing, which kind of like kind of bit me, and I was like, ooh, I like this. But I think just for me, sitting out on a surfboard and kind of refocusing, waiting in between waves, and just thinking, right? Like sometimes I won't think about which wave is coming back. Sometimes I'm thinking about, like recently I've lost some grandparents. So like thinking about them, and just kind of almost having like a meeting out there with myself, or just talking to good friends of mine who I can like confide, things that are going on in my life. And sometimes I'm out there surfing with people in recovery, and I'm coaching them. They don't even know it. So I found a lot of peace in it, even through, sitting out there with big waves, or even in the winter when it's snowing. So I'm not going to say never, but it's rare that I leave the water and I'm just like, oh man, like that was pretty crappy. Or like I'm going to go get high or whatever. It's not like that. Sometimes if I there's one time I landed on the side of my board on the rail wrong, and I had like a big bruise. Or the other day at Matunic, I cut my foot coming out of the water on a periwinkle. Ooh. And that's not fun. but the ocean's a friendly reminder that hey.
For me, I'm a lifelong beach bum, but really it's not about the sand. For me, it's looking out at the ocean, because I have a lot of voices in my head. I'm always thinking about what other people are thinking, or, family members, what do they need? What do they want? How are they perceived? Like, it's always going on. And there's something about staring at the vastness of the ocean that right sizes me. Mm-hmm. I remember, in a good way, how insignificant I am in the big scheme of things, that God is far greater than what's going on in my head or whatever problem that I'm dealing with. And in a weird way, it brings me peace to know that this world that God created is so much bigger than I am. So it kind of does the opposite. Instead of making me feel small, it's like...
It grounds you.
Grounds me, yeah.
I related to the feeling of feeling better after you come out of the water.
Yeah.
Most of the time. That's the same for me. When I go to a meeting, I always feel better when I leave the meeting. Mm-hmm. So it's just a little bit. So, and I also relate to feeling stale or stuck, and that really ties into my hobbies or activities. So, when I first got into recovery, I was still playing a lot of golf, and then we ventured to the beach, and I started kayaking and surf fishing first. I started surf fishing again, rediscovered that.
Then I used to chase the fish by
then
getting
kayak fishing, and was one of the first to do that off the beach at the Cape. And I've really been exploring hiking and being in the woods, and I love the beach. I'm surprised myself that I found a place that talks to me equally or even a little more. And that's where I can find water, pine trees, and big rocks all in the same place. I'm like, I just love that. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that is.
It's Maine.
Well, I was in New Hampshire recently, so it could be New Hampshire too. So, but that's that. So, would you say that, do you use any other supports for your recovery?
Yes, I still talk to my good friends who are kind of scattered, that I kind of almost grew up with in my recovery through the early years. Mm-hmm. I'm actually excited because one of them, him and his girlfriend, are coming to visit in Rhode Island, and so when him and I got in the rooms together pretty much around the same time, we both have like the same dates, and he found whitewater kayaking, and I kind of went the surfing route. So he met a girl that whitewater kayaks, and now they're together and really happy. So they're coming to visit next month and do some surfing and kind of hang out. And mm-hmm. So when I talk to him, it could be an hour conversation, it could be 2 hours, mm-hmm. And it's just a lot of catching up.
When are you going to meet your surfer girl?
Hopefully soon. I don't know. Maybe I'll just go to Hawaii and meet her there. Or Australia would be nice.
So this is all about the Ocean Recovery Community Alliance, and talk to us about your last year doing it and what you've discovered.
I don't know where to start. I mean,
you're innovating, right? Like you're starting something from the ground up.
Yeah, from ground up.
Yeah.
I mean, overview, like over 500 people have come out and volunteered at our cleanups. We've had almost 40 cleanups. In the last year, we've brought in, local businesses, national businesses. We've got we run a magazine, mm-hmm. Southern Rhode Island magazine, which was pretty cool. And because of that, we inspired kids at an elementary school in Providence to go out and do their own cleanup. Mm-hmm. And I did a Zoom meeting with them and talked to them about the ocean and stuff, which was neat. And some of them came out to a couple of the cleanups.
Yeah.
As of right now, we are just shy of 13,000 pounds that our volunteers have cleaned up.
I got 11, Phil got 2, but just kidding.
No, you're not. But I see what you did there.
Yeah, and it's just, meeting, and also partnering with, we've done cleanups with the centers, we've done cleanups with other recovery organizations.
When you say centers, that's the CCAR Recovery Community Centers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's kind of been overwhelming, but in a great way where, all this stuff is happening organically, and I love it because I'm not chasing people. It's kind of like we all have this mutual understanding, and someone will send me an email or send me a message on social media saying, hey, I really like what you're doing. Can we do a cleanup here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can make that happen for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we do it. Like with the Mystic River one and the ones we have coming up.
Yeah.
We did a cleanup with the Snug Harbor Volunteer Fire Department out of Rhode Island, and a girl there who was participating, she's like, hey, I own a kayak place over here. Like, do you want to do one over there? Yes, let's do it. And that's just how it kind of unfolds, and it's just amazing how that happens.
There's a time when we were cleaning up in Mesquamaket, and I was across the street, and I was behind these guys' like businesses, batting cages and whatever. And he comes up to me in his golf cart, and I said, you want me to leave? And he goes, well, that's why I was coming here, but now I see what you're doing. You can continue. Thank you. And I was like, okay. But so it's hard for people to like want to kick you out or say bad things when you're cleaning up and picking up trash, and they see you with the bagger with a bag full of bottles and cups and plastic and paper, and who could be against that?
I don't know. I would like to find out.
Right.
But like we've always joked around, like it'd be good press if we did get in trouble.
Right. Somebody kicked us out for picking up their trash.
Well, there was a time that we were near the Narragansett Wall, and so there's some beautiful many $million homes right there, and I'm cleaning trash out of these homes, in their yards, right, the edge of the yard.
I hope you're not going into their homes.
No, I'm sure there's no trash inside.
Yeah.
But just cleaning up the beach right in front of their house on the edge of their property, and I'm thinking about it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that experience in front of a multi-million-dollar home, or the times we've been at other places where it's a pretty rough park or a rough area where a lot of stuff is going down and we're cleaning up there. It doesn't matter. This is our world, and it kind of strips out the same way that addiction does. It just strips out demographics.
Yeah.
Like it's just everywhere.
Sandy, what is it? You talked earlier about being a convert or almost like addicted to picking up trash. What is it about it that has this drive
It's
and
like
you hold on
it's like a seek and find thing. It's once you get that grabber in your hand, and you're like, and I keep telling you I want longer ones because there's been things I couldn't get at that were farther away. But there's a few things. It's finding it, right? Almost like it's a treasure, but it's not really a treasure. Okay, and this is going to go in the really wrong direction, but I do watch the pimple popping videos.
Okay.
And in a way, I'm popping a pimple by getting that out of the earth.
Oh.
So it's I know that's a weird correlation.
I'm trying to visualize it.
No, I got it.
And sometimes we've gotten into the scrub, particularly, I remember at Quanticochog, like getting in there and digging that bottle out. But then there's all this moment, depending on what my trash is looking like on the day, where it's been wine bottles, it's been empty vape containers, it's been the wreckage of addiction. And over a 10-year period of my active addiction, I really damaged a lot of family relationships. And so there's some redemption in it for me. It's not their yard, but there's just something about removing the wreckage of those empty wine bottles and empty beer cans, that makes me feel just a little bit better inside. But I will say, and you know this, I've gotten a little high maintenance. I only want to go to cleanups where I know it's going to be really dirty.
Yep.
I don't want to go clean up cigarette butts because that is just tedious. It's not exciting, and there's no weight for me to compare. You know, you get a pile of cigarette butts, could take you 2 hours to collect. Yeah. It weighs nothing. So I've got nothing to go against Phil with. So I am getting a little choosy.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, you still come out and volunteer. There was one woman and her son who they counted how many cigarette butts they did at the cleanup a couple weeks ago. It was over 300.
Wow. 300.
And then when, you know, we tie the bags up at the end, and, you know, you kind of, the knot, and then you just get that. Whoosh,
yeah.
Oh.
And it's like, oh, yeah. But
part of Sandy and I drive a lot now. And so we'll drive along the highway and go, look at all that, and you cannot not see it anymore. It's everywhere.
Yeah. That's almost guaranteed. Once you participate in a cleanup event and you're kind of driving around and you see stuff, like once you see it, you can't unsee it. But it's so recently I went paddleboarding with a friend who's also in recovery, and when we were getting in the water at the dock launch, there was a Suboxone wrapper that washed up ashore. And I'm not against medicated assisted therapy, but I was on that for 3 or 4 months when I was struggling in my recovery, and it didn't work for me, and that's okay. It works for other people. It's great. But it was like that little reminder going in, like, it's like, okay, like, all right. And then that happened again when I was in Newport a couple of weekends ago at a beach that's not a big beach. It's like this. I was fortunate enough to be at this kind of private beach, even though technically there's no private beaches in Rhode Island. I don't want to get into all that coastal access stuff. But I was swimming around in the water, and there goes another Suboxone wrapper, and it was like those friendly reminders that, like, all right.
I don't even know if I'd know a Suboxone wrapper if one floated right by me. Does it say Suboxone right on it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It says it right on it.
I don't know.
Good.
But like you were saying, like before about, me being in the water and like the surfing and stuff. Like the water, it's almost like the ocean kind of brings me back and says, like, like you're having a good time surfing and everything and cleaning up beaches.
When?
Like remember, almost 7 years ago, and you were not in a spot to have all these gifts that, and these blessings that I've had over the years. So it definitely grounds me when I see something like that.
I think of the impact the volunteers have on the community a lot, and we don't talk too much about that, but we've been many places where the community residents thank us many times for doing that. And it's also strange, like you could be on a fishing jetty, and the jetties and the rock walls are notorious because of all the stuff that gets down in the cracks and what people leave behind. And our daughter Sam was on one, and these guys are fishing, and they hold up like their coffee cups, they're from Dunkin' Donuts or whatever, and said, "Will you take these?" And she's like, "Brother," and she just, holds open her thing, and they drop them in. It's like it's strange reactions from all different walks of life.
Yeah, it is.
I think one of the other things is, particularly these areas where, more than likely the wreckage I'm seeing are from young people gathering, late on a Friday night or Saturday night. And it gives me a moment of thinking about, like the wreckage they left behind of that, and that there is this light of day kind of life, and that recovery is happy, joyous, and free, where so many people who don't understand recovery think recovery is, oh, you're in recovery, when it's like, yeah, like people who were in recovery, we're pretty happy about being in recovery.
Yeah.
And I just often look at that wreckage that we see and just know that, what I would want for those folks is to be on the other side of it.
Well, speaking of wreckage, I think next year I'm gonna have a cleanup somewhere after the 4th of July, because I saw so many pictures on people's Instagram stories of people just leaving their fireworks and everything right on the beach. So that's definitely gonna happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're under the influence of anything, even just socially, you don't care as much about what you leave behind.
Yeah, it's kind of like whatever. I'll leave someone else to do it or something.
Yeah.
But
I still don't wash out the peanut butter jar and put it in the recycling. But I'm progress.
I could give you some stats about recycling, but we don't want to get too depressed here.
So over the years, you've seen people get involved in a lot of ways. What would you like people to know on how to get involved?
On how to get involved with ORCA?
Yes.
So we have, if you're on social media like most of us are, you just type up ORCA Fellowship in Instagram or Facebook. We're coming up on almost 1,000 people on Facebook and 500 on Instagram, and that's all through people sharing our events with everyone and with their friends. We have through those pages, we have a little website where you can register for all the events and also donate if you are, for our cause. And then everything goes up on social media. Every time I get the okay from, a Parks and Rec person at this city or town, I make a flyer, put the flyer up, and post it, and that's how we've been doing it, and getting all these people, all these volunteers to come out.
What can people expect the day of when they show up?
The day of.
So what do you do to get a place ready?
What do I do to get a place ready?
Yeah, and what can people expect?
Well, it's like a month of planning in advance. So right now we're doing this almost mid-July. I'm already looking for August and September. So when people show up, you'll see this really big ORCA tent that we just got. That has our logo, and people can look for that. And then once you come up to the tent, I will be there greeting you, and you sign in.
Most of the time,
yeah. You sign in, and depending what we have going on that day in terms of a local business giving out free coffee, or like last week we raffled off a free surf lesson through one of the surf shops in Narragansett. So after you sign in, you can choose to have a grabber or this bagger, which their trash will go in. Some people don't go for the grabber, and they just get a pair of gloves and use their hands and go that way. That's the old school way. And then I kind of point you in the right direction, and wherever you think that there might be some trash, you kind of go, and you come back after an hour or two, or if your trash bag gets full, you bring it back, and I'll exchange it for another one. And then afterwards, I weigh, if you want to know how much you pick up, like Sandy and Phil do. I'll weigh the bag for you, kind of give a little bragging rights. And yeah, you can either make a donation to and get a really cool ORCA t-shirt. We partnered up with a really cool and sustainable company out of the Midwest called All Made, where all their shirts the ones we get are made out of, each shirt is 6 recycled plastic bottles and organic cotton grown here in the US of A. And it's got our logo on it, and minimum $20 donation gets you a shirt, and they're super soft, and our volunteers wear them and they love them. So if you want to get that or a water bottle, we have those available. And then, if, like I said, if there's like a free coffee, or like down in Misquamicut, a restaurant was feeding our volunteers 2 little fish, which is great.
Yeah.
And it all depends where it's at and what we got going on. And
I was always surprised at the weigh-in. That's kind of an exciting time when people come in with their bags of trash, and it accumulates quickly, and people are really proud of what they've gathered and are working at it. I think there was a drone video of when you were doing the rock wall in Narragansett, where you see all the people with grabbers and the baggers scrambling along the rock wall, and that's incredible.
Yeah. And it's all because of your vision too.
Well,
Right.
think of the vision and all that. I brought it to the board of directors, and they've been fully supportive of the entire project. And Kevin, one of the directors, said, so what you're saying, it's from personal recovery to ocean recovery. And I can't think of a better way to summarize what the program's about, that we've got into recovery, then we begin to care about ourselves, the immediate circles around us, and then it expands to this idea of taking care of the world or the environment or the ocean, however you want to do that. It's a remarkable transformative process.
Yeah. It's kind of mind-blowing in
Yeah.
a sense, right?
Because when you were actively using, did you think about cleaning up the ocean?
Nope, not at all. I don't think I went near the ocean
Right.
for, I don't know, most of my 20s. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that.
We had a great opportunity to work with you to have you do a cleanup at UConn.
Yes.
And we had 10 student organizations that knew nothing about...
University of Connecticut.
Yes. So we had 10 student clubs, groups that all gathered a team to come help clean up campus. And our UConn recovery community were sponsoring it. But the cool thing was those 10 groups really didn't know anything about a program at UConn for students in recovery. And so it did a few things. It cleaned up almost 900 pounds of trash.
Yep.
And I didn't have a single can, so I'm not taking any claim for any of it because I was busy doing other things.
Yeah.
But, it started to spread the word so that students, that we talk about ways of destigmatizing. So when you see that this particular student group is gathering other student groups and they begin to explore what it's like, and they had a great time and couldn't wait to do it again. So we are hoping to book you for October.
Yeah.
But
October's free as of right now.
There we go. Booked.
So, anything you would like to add about your personal transformation in doing this work?
I mean, honestly, it doesn't even feel like work.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just, now I'm just kind of, it's just a part of like my life, right? Like I was saying before, like I wake up, try to get in the water, and then come back, and then just, get right to it. And it doesn't even, seem like it. Because when I'm in the water, people be like, hey, you're the ORCA guy, right? Like sitting on our surfboards, out in the ocean. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, this just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So this just happened. A surfer who I know works for a nonprofit down in Rhode Island. And she's like, yeah, we would like to do something with you, with the salt ponds. And I was like, okay, send me an email. Shot the email and working on something for September. So it just kind of like it's a huge part of my life now, and I don't really know what else I'd be doing right now. Honestly, now that I think about it, and when I first moved to Rhode Island, a friend of mine who's like a holistic coach was like, all right, so you're here now. I'm like, okay. It's like, what are you going to do for work? Because when I moved there, I didn't have a job. And I was like, that's a great question. I don't know. And it took, 2.5 years to find something after working as a recovery coach for one of the hospitals and working construction for like 8 months and kind of like put in my dues that way. But now it's like, all right, like where are we going to go next? Where's ORCA wanted? And, the communities in Connecticut and Rhode Island have been very supportive, and I'm going to keep going back to places where, people come out and they want to do good for their community. So as long as they want us there, and we'll be there. So I can't wait to see what the next year brings, and, maybe some fundraising in year 3 where I hike the Appalachian Trail, and raise some money doing that. That's a thought I had yesterday when I was walking around in Charlestown in the woods. So, yeah, it's just, if you have, I put the schedule out at the beginning of each month, and if you can make it, great. We try to do one almost every weekend, sometimes 2. So keep an eye out for that, and it's ORCA Fellowship on Instagram, Facebook. Give us a follow, and if you can't make it, share it with your friends.
Yes.
I agree that It's personally transformative in the sense that it's amends in action for me. So I've taken a lot of pictures of me with beer bottles that I picked up and think about how many I had tossed over my active drinking and all that. But to be able to pick them up, it's almost healing in some sense for me, and know that we're helping clean up our earth and our environment is also very rewarding. But overall, I also think the program really talks about what recovery values are, about being of service, being honest, open, warm, friendly, inclusive. And you model all those at every pickup. I know that we've had staff members like Tom and Amy and other people have come, and Rebecca have all helped and shared those same values. And so people might not necessarily know that we're about personal recovery as well, but they're drawn to those qualities. Mm-hmm. And I finally think about what Bill White said about the principles of the recovery community, the values that we hold, have the ability to heal our entire world. And that's a big kind of mic drop statement, but I believe it's true. And we're modeling that in a very small way, but who knows where it's going to go. So thank you for all your work. I do also agree that you are the right person in the right place in the right job doing the right work.
And like I've said to like my parents and friends, like I would like to see the person that got the job over me. I mean, not to sound, like cocky, but
nobody did.
Yeah, nobody did. So
all right, there you go.
Yeah. It was just woven together perfectly for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to keep on doing it and keep surfing and keep organizing the events and go from there, and we'll see where this wave goes.
Nice. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.